Hello, hello, hello. From Main Cap and Stem, this is the MycoWizards podcast. I'm Eric Lohman, and today for our third episode, we've got the one and only Neil Brent of Columbia Mushroom Company, located in the deep, dark woods of the Pacific Northwest, kid. So I'm not very sure if it's all the lightning strikes out there, the alien abductions, or flying saucer sightings, or perhaps it's the serial killer soaked history. But shit, it washes such a lovely sense of calm over my man Neil. But I assure you he's got a wild side, and I've got the voicemails to prove it. In fact, I was certain Neil was from the East Coast because of his dry wit and dark humor, but in fact, he's a West Coastin' mycological force. So sit back and enjoy our conversation from a few weeks back. Go for the gold and press record and see what the fuck happens. You know, worst case scenario is none of this shit works and then we gotta record another conversation, which I keep finding isn't the worst thing in the world. People are like, oh, we should keep talking. Like, okay, yeah. Sure. Why not? All right, well, fuck it. We're recording, man. So thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So the earliest I recall anything to do with Columbia mushrooms was you calling me. I think I was sitting in my Xterra and it was cold as shit outside, and there was some Oregon number calling me, and I was trying to like click ignore, and I clicked accept or some shit, and then talk to you for like 20 minutes. And I can't remember exactly what we talked about, but I think it was like steam boxes and John Donahue and I think it was everything.
I think, all right, to be perfectly honest, I got your phone number from your old blog about Jesus. Your mushroom farm in Arizona, because I was looking at air systems through Fungi Perfecti, and I searched it in Google, saw the image, ended up on your blog, and I called you and was like, I'm looking at this for this build out, and you're like, don't do it, man.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's essentially ducting with a really overblown humidistat.
Yeah, and you're like, the HEPA filter never worked. Like, you're like, the whole thing is, you're like, it's just so expensive. Don't do it. And we started by talking about that because I was trying to build out a 20-foot shipping container all in one unit just for fruiting.
Like, okay, just for fruiting. It wasn't a sport of fruit thing.
No. It was we were doing buckets at the time. I try and forget about that part.
Just straw buckets.
Yeah.
Oh, good God. Ooh, a cat.
Yeah, I got a cat. I got a dog here. They all want my attention now that it's somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how it works, man. My favorite is like when a cat sits on you and you're just trying to take a shit. You're like, what are you doing?
Well, they want to make sure that you're comfortable and that you're safe.
It's totally understandable. And so they start like fucking kneading your naked thighs with their two long claws. And you're like, get the fuck off of me.
Yeah. Or when the bathroom door is closed and they start scratching only to come in and stare.
Yeah. They're perverts, basically. Yeah. At past a certain age, all cats are just perverted aliens.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
Well, I mean, we do feed them kibble so that they can get ready for their launch to space.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's space cat food.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think cats and mushroom farmers seem to go hand in hand. I don't have my two anymore, and I miss them all the time. But, Wooter and all his cat posts, I used to post my cats in my incubation all the time. We'd like drive them over to the farm and like let them around, and they'd kill little mice and shit. It was kind of cool to have them around.
Yeah, they love it. I mean, we found some barn cat kittens over in our goat and pig stalls earlier this fall.
Did you?
They've moved into under the house. I actually have to trap them now. But like, we've got like my cat I've had for like 10 years, and then all of these barn cat kittens around. And we used to have there's like this one rat that was in our barn that like, I'm talking like for years I would try and trap it. And like, it just knew. It was smarter than me. It was bigger than me. Like, there's times where it'd be like midwinter, I'm like out in the barn by myself. And I'd look over at the stairs to upstairs and there'd be this gigantic rat. I swear is like 2 feet tall. And it'd just be sitting there staring at me.
They don't give a fuck.
It did not fucking care.
They look at you like
ever
coyotes.
since, yeah, through your soul.
Yeah. They'll eat you.
Yeah.
The Norway rats up here are terrifying. Like they're like small animals. They're like cats. They're like fucking, it's not fair. And they don't.
I thought it was a possum at first. Yeah, we have the same ones. They're horrible. I don't know where they came from.
They're invasive as a motherfucker. It seems like it though. I mean, they'll eat chickens, man, Like they're no fucking joke. You get them in a barn and they'll just like harass the shit out of your giant livestock. And if you ever seen a 300-pound pig jump from a rat that big, you're like, that's no rat.
Yeah, it's not a rat. That's radioactive.
So I know this isn't mushroom related, but your male goat that you posted a picture of is not a female?
That is a fully male. It's a wether. Yeah.
Whoa.
So my first 3 goats that I got are all mini Nubians. One of them is a half brother of the other 2 that are like litter mate brothers. And the one that I posted that video of, it's named Dollar Mindy after the Indian pop star.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, the first 3 was Charlie Murphy, Dollar Mindy, and Todd, because I didn't tell my girlfriend at the time we're getting a 3rd goat. And when we showed up, I was like, oh yeah, I paid for a 3rd one. So
is this
Todd,
girl still with you?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it's the, I think it's the curse of mushroom farming.
Yeah, it could be, man. It killed my wife. I don't want to say that and sound like ridiculous, but it's scary,
Yeah. I mean, like I'm pretty sure you can talk to almost every mushroom farmer and whoever you started it with. Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, it's fucking not a female. I mean, literally, I was looking at it and I was like, I know exactly what's in that motherfucker. And so did Scott, I think, right?
Yeah, everybody thinks that goat is pregnant. He's just fat. He's always been fat. Even like midsummer when he's like running around, he's got 1.5 acres, and like running around, and he runs stupid too. Like, most of the goats, like when they run, they do like the prance, like move their feet in unison. This one, it's the 2 front feet move at the same rate and the 2 back feet. It's like he wants to die.
He's just looking to crush his face into a boulder.
Yeah.
Huh.
I've saved him from many times of being stuck in the fence.
Oh my God. Well, give me a lay of your land. So your mushroom farm is where you live and there's other farm stuff happening?
Yeah. So we're on 2.5 acres in Hood River, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
We're in like
the royal we? Okay.
The royal we. Me, the crew. My girlfriend Kiara and I live here. We've got my dog Brio, my cat Taj, our like 7 barn cats apparently.
Some Norway rats.
Yeah, I don't think so anymore, but we had some.
Thank God they're gone.
10 goats now.
Whew.
Yeah, 10. All right, so mushroom compost is like this great and terrible thing. We sell a ton of it. People love it.
Oh yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I talk to who are like, we just throw our blocks out. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude?
You need money through the back door, dude. People don't get that.
It saved our ass back in like March, April. I mean, I sold probably $6,000 in compost at like $25 a yard.
It takes 10 seconds to just like load up some asshole's pickup truck.
Yeah. I mean, I was loading out, excuse me, like 10 to 40 yards. I had people who were trucking it out. I mean, I work with like an excavation crew and I'm just like, call this dude. They'll do like all of the trucking. You pay them separately and I'll charge you really cheap if you just buy a lot of it.
Just get it out of my fucking whole land.
Yeah, dude, we make a lot of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so most of the goats we've gotten, honestly, my neighbor, like they've got a U-pick, like beautiful apple orchard. She keeps Cooney pigs and Nigerian dwarfs there for like, when people bring their kids and whatnot.
That's cool.
And every year she wants to get rid of them. So I just trade her compost and she just gives me goats. So it's pretty good. It's like a win-win.
That's like, so Oregon doesn't seem that far off. I think Oregon and Washington and Maine are pretty similar when it comes to like bartering and trading, and that whole like dickering sort of thing is very alive in the Northwest and the Northeast.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle thing. I mean, like my neighbors, it's like we might not agree with each other on like certain things, but if I needed help and something was going on, they'd be the first ones there to help, no questions asked.
Yeah. Yep. I noticed that in the West Coast, a lot of like if there were in the time that I was out there and traveling around, if there was like a forest fire or if something was happening, no matter how you had sort of a relationship with your neighbors, they would come wake you up in the middle of the night if there was a fire, whatever, there was one of your animals is being eaten by a fucking bobcat, whatever it was, they were there.
Yeah. I mean, my neighbor, I had to put down one of my goats about like a year and a half ago, got these like urine crystals, so couldn't pee.
Yeah.
And it's like a really terrible, like horrible way to die. Yeah. And I didn't have like a means of putting it down. My neighbor came over, like helped me with the whole thing, like was there while I buried it.
Yep.
This was like the pet goat, like the one you put in the backyard with your friend's kids. Like,
like
it laid down with kids and just like let them pet it. So it was pretty traumatizing, but it's one of those weird things. It's like, we don't hang out, we don't talk that often, but like I called and was like, hey, I got this problem. They're there right then.
Yeah. Well, I find that most people who have animals, whether it's farm animals or they're just animal people in general, they're not there for you. There's some like very clear calling that they understand like what it is, and they are family members to, people who have animals and who are animal people. And if they've got the gun and they got the time or they've got the hands to help, they're going to be there.
Yeah. So yeah, we got good neighbors here.
That's good, man.
All right. The property. So we're on 2.5 acres, used to be a goat farm.
Mm-hmm.
Came with a giant barn on it, which was, so when they built the Bonneville Dam, which is like a huge dam on the Columbia River as part of like the WPA projects.
Yep.
The owner of this house, his father was he was the foreman of part of the Bonneville Dam, like the concrete project.
Oh, okay.
So all the floors and a bunch of like the joists in the barn is like all the lumber from pouring concrete for the Bonneville Dam.
That's so
and
cool.
The building itself, the structure that they built, is the last standing metal building in North Bonneville before they flooded that town and moved it.
Oh, shit.
And it was a gas station.
Huh.
So
that's pretty
so
sweet.
Like, yeah, we've got some crazy timber in there, like to the point where when we were like working with the barn to, fix some floors and move stuff around, it was like, honestly, a 24-foot true, 18 by 3-inch board.
Holy
as much as I want to move it,
yeah, no
I think
way.
I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah, dude. Holy fuck. That's like a score and a half for half of the fucking scrap barn people up here who take all that barn board and then, open stores like Barn Boards and more,
Oh, yeah, we thought about selling it, but like, it was just like,
it's too cool, man.
Yeah, it's part of the story. It makes it's pretty fun when, people look up at the floors and you can see the big holes where they ran the bolts for putting the concrete up and all that stuff. And people always ask, and it's pretty fun to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, those pieces of equipment and those just structural sort of anomalies, especially if they're that old, or I don't know, even if they're harder to work with and you have to work around them structurally or whatever, it's so worth having them, it's fucking all character.
Yeah.
My buddy Cisco and I picked up a 1920s lathe from this mechanic, a couple exits down going towards Portland from where we are in Gardner. And they knew the whole story of it. And the dude who basically had the lathe, it's a big mother too, man. It's like an 8-foot bed, full metal lathe, and comes with all the gearing, all the everything, multiple giant ass chucks, and needs some work. But the dude who owned it, that was the lathe that kept the Brunswick mill alive, basically, fixing everything in that space. And when you think about it, like that was the last dude who was like the last machinist and the last person to really take care of like a whole mill building. So that's
insane.
Oh, dude, it's so fun to own equipment like that. You got to get it running again. And you're like, this has heart and soul. It's like an old motorcycle, an old tractor, or, an old ass barn. It's just fucking riddled with stories.
Well, and the best part about those pieces of equipment and whatnot is that they were built in a fashion where, like, once you get it going again, it's never going to break. They barely break.
Right. And if it does, in the case of like a lathe, the most beautiful machine in the world, it's the only machine in the world that can rebuild itself. So, it's fucking awesome,
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's unreal, dude. So you're from New England, right? What the fuck?
No, I'm just an asshole.
You're an asshole? You're not from New England. Okay.
No. I've
been telling lies my whole life, dude. Or at least my whole time knowing you, which I feel like it's been my whole life, to be honest, man. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. I think it's been like 6 years or something like that.
Fucking
5 years.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, time is irrelevant to me. I could have talked to you for the first time yesterday or 10 years ago, and it's still, I don't maintain timelines like, oh, I got to know him doing this and then we did that. And I don't fucking care. I just kind of know who you are and I get along with you or I don't. It's one or the other.
I'm with you there.
So you're like from Oregon. You're from that area.
So I don't tell many people this, but I was born in California.
Oh, God.
And we moved up, my family and I, to Portland in '96 because my dad went to OHSU for specialty school. He was an endodontist, so he did root canals.
Yep.
And the intention was always to move back because a lot of my family, at least my dad's side, is in California, San Diego.
San Diego, okay.
San Diego, some in LA, some around San Francisco. Same with my mom's family. Most of them are San Diego. And then there's some on the East Coast, like they used to live in New York City and now they live in New Jersey. And I think they live in Long Island now.
Oh, no shit.
But,
yep.
Yeah. We moved up in '96 and then I basically have lived in Oregon the entire time. I had a 1-year stint living in Tucson, which was
probably the worst time in your life.
Worst and best. I mean, Tucson is a pretty crazy place, but coming from Oregon, going to Tucson is it's jarring.
Yeah.
Very, very different.
Yeah, man. I spent a lot of time in Mount Hood when I was younger and snowboarding and like going to that old Shining hotel, where they filmed the outside and shit.
Wait, what? You went?
Oh, yeah. I've been everywhere, man.
I am 45 minutes from being on the slopes at Mount Hood.
No shit. Yeah, so that area is unparalleled beauty. And if you've never been out there, you don't know what wild is. It's like the last wild United States, As far as mountainous, like crazy ass, like, truck runaway, fucking ramps, giant trees older than you,
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful out there. Mount Hood's gorgeous too. Like just the fact that you can snowboard in the middle of the summer is why I went. But it was just kind of a cool concept when my knees could take it, when I was a young guy. But it's pretty nuts. I mean, part of the reason that I live in Hood River is the fact that it's an hour from the city, it's an hour from the mountain. Yeah.
Some of the best mountain biking in like the world is like 15 minutes from my house. Yep. There's all the weird wind and water sports. Not a wind or water person, but I mean, yeah. And then like, the coast is like 2 to 3 hours away. I mean, you got everything you want. You want to go to the desert, drive 30 minutes east and an hour south. You're in the desert.
Yeah, that was blowing my mind out there because I was with a bunch of skateboarders and surfers and stuff. And, besides San Diego, where you could, ski and then ride your bike and then surf and then do it all over again every day, it's the same thing up there, just a little colder, and prettier.
A lot of bit colder.
Yeah, a lot of bit colder. Compared to back here,
prettier.
Not so bad, but,
Yeah, well,
it's prettier.
I'm weak with the cold now. I used to love it.
Did you?
Now I'm like, give me more layers, man.
Yeah. I'm definitely like thickening up again. I did 2 years of the keto diet with my wife there as part of like her treatment, and fuck, dude, I didn't even know you dropped weight on that. I was doing it to try and keep her alive, and I went from like 230 like husky biker man down to fucking like a $160 somewhere in there. I was like shivering all winter long. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, that's called drink more beer, dude.
Yeah, it's
more
true,
beer.
man. Yeah, I had to husky it up, but you can't do that shit on the keto. So, but yeah, I feel you. The cold gets to you after a while, especially because the winters just seem to get longer and they're just more drawn out. They're not as severe. They're just like cold and gray.
Yeah, it's just cold forever.
Yeah.
But luckily, like where we are, we're like right along the center of the Cascade Mountains. So like you drive anywhere from my house, you've got a double mountain view of like Mount Hood, Mount Adams, like the whole town. It's just, yeah, it's pretty unreal. Like, even if you don't live in a house with a view, you walk 5 feet from your house, like you got, award-winning views everywhere.
Yeah. You can't beat it, man. I mean, every day coming down the top of Mount Hood, and it's not like a long fucking run, that glacier, but like I said, you can totally ride it in the middle of summer and just in a t-shirt. It's unreal. And then you get to that volcanic rockside and you come down to that hotel. And then I remember walking past that, like, I don't know, like 30 times. And then I was like, a month later or something, I was driving around with my parents or something. And I was like, that hotel was from The Shining, wasn't it? I like had some photos and I was like, man, like this is before, everybody had a smartphone and you could look this shit up. But for some reason, we must have like watched The Shining or something. My dad was a huge fucking fan of that horror shit. And so am I. But we were watching it and I was like, dude, I can't believe I was walking past that like every day and I didn't realize it.
Yeah, it's not creepy until you realize it.
Yeah.
Like when you're in there, you're like, oh, this is beautiful. Look at that giant fireplace. Like, this is great.
Right.
But yeah, the second that you realize that The Shining was shot there, it's like walking through those halls, you're like, where are those two little girls?
It's creepy as fuck. Where are those two little girls? Take me to room 237, please.
I think they purposely don't have that room number.
Oh, really?
There because of the movie.
Oh, I'm sure, man. It fucked everything up, I'm sure, for tourism there.
What are you talking, dude? That place is like, it is rented out day and night all winter.
Oh, no, I meant fucked it up in a good way, probably. But in a bad way where it's like, everybody but me, I guess, realized what the fuck they were looking at every day. Dude, I can only imagine people make it a mecca, There's like, I was just talking to my friend Mike about the, what do they call it? Like the black metal tours where you go around and like see where all the black metal musicians murdered themselves and other people. And I was like, this is a thing. And he was like, yeah, dude, they call it black packing. And I was like, we should go black packing. Are we too old to go black packing, man? We should fucking go.
Oh, God.
So I'm suspect to the same shit, dude.
It's a bad name, but it does sound kind of fun.
It is, right? It's a terrible name, but it'll stick, It sticks in your head. Yeah. So did you do any mushroom stuff like at all when you were in California, or you came up when you were kind of younger? So
I was definitely younger. Honestly, like, no. And when we moved up to Portland, like I was super young, and like my first experience with wild mushrooms was like, we'd have these like nasty, poisonous, whatever things grow under whatever trees we had in the backyard, like pears and apples and plums or whatever. And I always remember my parents telling me not to eat it because obviously that's what you're going to do as a kid.
You're just going to shove it down your gullet.
Yeah. But I always found them, coming from California and then like, deserty, beach, dry California. And then now having like mushrooms around was like kind of a weird thing. But
I bet.
Honestly, like my family wasn't like, that go out to the woods and go mushroom hunting or anything like that. Actually I kind of got into it in college. Like, I studied microbiology and
where at?
At Oregon State.
Okay.
So did micro, dual minored, Spanish and chemistry. Don't speak to me in Spanish. It's horrendous.
¿Cómo está?
Muy bien.
Oh,
you too.
Yes. Oh wait, shit! You're supposed to say that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Así, man. Así. That's the fucking extent of my Spanglish.
Hey, you're doing good.
I try.
You gotta, Donde está la cerveza?
Oh yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's right in front of me. It's a bullet bourbon bottle. That's what it is.
I'm proud of you. Drinking Coors Banquet.
Yeah. Oh, there you go, man. See, I'm all about the cheap beer, but the fine whiskey. You know.
Yeah. Pay for the whiskey, but dude, I worked in the beer industry for 10 years. I only drink cheap beer and lagers at this point.
I can't handle any PAs of any kind. IA, whatever. EIOWZY. I just can't do it. They taste like shit to me, and they make me completely just have to piss every 30 seconds, and the flavor just sucks. Cheap beer tastes good. It's like rice in a bottle.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yep.
When I was a brewer, my beer that I brewed at all of the places that I brewed at was always 30% rice lager.
Nice.
Everybody always hated me for it too. They're like, nobody wants to drink this. Like, this is craft beer. They want hops. I'm like, fuck that, dude. I want something I could drink. I'm a lot more out of that now. I've been like mushrooming full time probably for like 2 years, and kind of let the brewing industry fame and dreams kind of fade with time.
What was your transition to going from whatever you were doing right before Mushroom Land to researching and then actually committing to something full time?
So when I was working at Y Yeast, growing yeast and growing mushrooms are like they're all fungus. It's the same. It's actually a lot of the process is very similar.
Sure.
What we did there is we were growing liquid yeast, and then settling out the solids and selling the liquid yeast, and then dumping all of the liquid that has nothing in it, just a little bit of alcohol and some residual sugar. Okay. Very similar to making liquid culture in mushrooms. But when you're like making hundreds of thousands of gallons of liquid yeast every day, and you've kind of like done everything somewhere, you start to get bored.
Yeah.
And I'd always, so is mushroom farming.
True. That's why I started a podcast. Keep me in this, man. Keep me in it.
What are you talking about? You're always innovating, man.
I know. I can't help it. I'm a gear grinder.
Dude, it's the tinkering thing. It's what keeps me around too.
Yep.
So I started like culturing mushrooms, from shit I bought at the store. Like, I didn't know jack shit back then about different strains and like viability and, dealing with like, great, I cloned this, but like, how good is this as a culture, for vitality or viability and whatever.
Right.
So I started growing some like gray oysters on straw for fun. And it was like out of like a simple Martha setup. And honestly, a lot of it had to do with like, I tried in college and whatever to do the same thing, bought in some spawn from fungi perfecti or whatever, and was like, I'm going to do this.
Signed your contract that you wouldn't sell their spawn.
Yeah. Cause of course I would sell that spawn. But, failed epically. So it was like I failed mycology the first time I took it in college, like absolutely failed it to the point where the teacher asked me, he's like, if you leave the class now and retake it next year, maybe you'll be better prepared. Yeah.
What was so hard about mycology, like in general, just as a subject?
So you
were smoking too much of that pine stank, weren't you?
Dude, I was fucking high every day, all day.
It's how some of us function, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you get into it, like that's kind of where you're at. I mean, if you don't, like, I couldn't remember anything if I was like sober. So
right.
Like now I got to go to the test high, but this is a really long test.
I'm kind of tired and hungry.
Yeah. So I took it the second year and I got an A-, but
well, good for you, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was actually a really hard class. I mean, it was, not only like life cycle, cellular structure, like all that crazy like sciencey side, but also
Sure.
like because we're in a mushroom region, we were required to harvest, identify, and dehydrate samples correctly to be put into Oregon State's got a whole like bank of like mushroom cultures.
Yeah.
So you had to do 10 different genuses of mushrooms in a semester. The first half was 10, the second half was 10, so 20 geni. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
so it's primarily like this course was based on Basidiomycetes. It wasn't just based on mycology in general.
Yeah, it was Basidia. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Basidium. Yeah. So, you had to go out and identify and correctly identify. So like somebody had planted like Prince Agaricus under a tree, and my TA, I like showed him this. I was like, dude, this is what it is. I don't want to like incorrectly identify this, because like your whole grade was basically based off of like being able to identify mushrooms correctly, but also understand the science.
Sure.
So I took him to the tree and I was like, this is like the wrong season. And he looked at it, he looked at me, he's like, you're 100% right. And this is 100% not supposed to be here. So I was like, that's when I was like, maybe I'm doing something right.
Oh man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was your first inkling that you were like, huh.
I always liked it. I thought it was super cool, but I thought I was going to be a beer guy. And I got into the beer industry. Like I really liked culturing and growing yeast. Did that whole thing, and just realized that unless I was going to start a yeast company, like, it wasn't really what I was going to do. So when my time at the yeast lab ended, I took a job as the head brewer at like a small brew pub where, I could kind of make my own schedule, and then started the mushroom farm at the same time.
What was that hustle like? Just trying to like figure out how to do both?
Well, with that hustle, add in, trying to find a house.
Yeah.
Because like for us to be able to do this correctly, like, I don't know, for anybody else out there, like, the price per square foot on a warehouse space, or, if you're renting, or to buy it, like you have a lot more requirements in like more of an industrial setting as to what you can do, what you can dump down the drain, and how much it costs. Well, here it's about $1.50 a square foot is like fair. It's upwards of $2 a square foot.
Yep.
So, and mushroom farms take up space. So we had to get a place, look for a place with a barn, which was not easy. And then that whole thing. And then, with that kind of added pressure in, it was like, all right, now I need to make this actually work. And we were doing oysters on straw to start. Heat pasteurization, then that took too much time, so we moved to lime pasteurization. That fails like 70% of the time.
And then you called me and were like, hey, this cool ducting unit, I want to get it.
The cool ducting unit was actually before we got this house. We were going to put a 20-foot container on the house I was renting.
Okay.
The landlords are cool. Yeah, they're cool with it and all that stuff.
Fucking
and then
cool
it just kind of came down.
Out west, dude.
They were sick. They let me start a mushroom farm in a room that they had built into their garage to grow weed in.
Oh, well, that makes sense. If you didn't say weed, yeah, I'd be like, oh, well.
Well, they never told me that, but like the light timers in that room, I looked at it, I was like, it's a heated and cooled insulated room with light timers. Like, I've been in rooms like this. I know what this is.
Right. You're not breeding baby clones in here. Like, what the fuck are you? Yeah. That's my favorite thing is like, it was before the legalization of weed worldwide, citywide, countrywide, everywhere wide became such a huge thing. It was so fun to just see like box fans in windows or like CO2 canisters and heat pumps. And you're like, oh my God.
The one spot on somebody's roof where the snow didn't settle because it was too hot from all the lights.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You can see it too if you live on a fucking hill.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I miss that sort of concept of guerrilla everything.
Oh yeah.
So you found this spot, and then you just kept going with it.
Yeah, moved in. Went from straw buckets because I was like all pro bucket. I was like, yeah, dude. We're going to save the world by putting way more plastic into a reusable thing. that smells like rotten garlic. We got all these minced garlic buckets, dude.
Yeah.
It was so bad. It smelled bad.
Oh man.
It was just like rancid.
Straw's fucking nasty. I remember there being I realized there was a distinct difference between what we were doing and everybody else when Mousem, Bountiful, and Northsport all had these like fucking trampolines over IBCs, draining fucking shit out of straw, and we were just hucking sawdust blocks left and right. I was like, what are these fuckers doing with their fucking crazy ass straw shenanigans? I didn't get it at the time, you know. I think
like most of us didn't, because you're broke and trying to do something with. I mean, there's no information back then.
There was nothing. Yeah, there's like one page on atmospheric steaming in that growing gourmet medicinal mushrooms, and before that, all I had was Roger Rabbit and Shroomery.
That's where I started.
Is it? So I asked, I'm sitting across from Sam and Soraya. They came up here and recorded an interview, which is really cool. Or a podcast, whatever you want to fucking call it. And I said something like tongue in cheek about Roger Rabbit and the Shroomery. And they were like, yeah, I don't know who Roger Rabbit is. And I was like, what?
That's like OG.
Yeah. So it made me understand that there's there's a large percentage of people who are getting into this who have no concept of like pre-smartphone, Instagram, Facebook, Shroomery, you know, and trying to disseminate the difference between where you want to go and where you came from, and the psychedelic grows versus the, you know, block versus straw versus log versus everything. It was so muddled and confusing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, and then when you're trying to search for stuff too, it's like, there's 1,000 different things, and you had to see who the admin on it was.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, man, that was some fantastic times of spending too much time looking at that black background, blue lettering. Just like, oh God, my eyes are trash from that. But there was a lot of information in there. And that was my first window into anything like that. Because before that, the internet to me was just like, you just Googled directions and printed map quests, you know? I'm trying to find a new skate park. Let's map quest it, brah.
Yeah, Shroomery was a weird time.
Yeah.
It was a super weird time. And then Roger Rabbit, I think he fell off because when pot went legal, he went down that route. But I think he's back. I like checked in on the Shroomery like 8 months ago, and
really
he'd been on there commenting. But
it's like, no way.
Yeah, it's like a totally different time now, and everybody's in the Facebook groups and whatever.
I didn't even think about that. I would love to have his phone number somehow and just give him a call, just on like, you know, I don't think he's very aware of like the impact that he had on that first wave of mushroom growers that like Andrew Collier had pointed out, like 2008 and up. That first wave was 100% like soaked into, you know, those like double barrel boiler situations with the fucking, you know, gravity racks that were welded in and such.
Do you know how many people that I've talked to that have sent me pictures of something that they built similar to that, where I'm just like, yeah, you do not have the safety mechanisms to run this thing the way you want to. Like, you're going to blow up your neighbor.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No, like when we got into atmospheric, I was like, this is the only way to do it. And then,
yeah,
I mean, it's not what we ended up doing, because I was really afraid of, you know, pressurizing a 55-gallon drum with steam, even though you kind of realize that you're not. But
yeah. I mean, it's very hard to build pressure in anything like that, you know. But when you don't know, you don't know, and you're like, oh, fuck, you know, like what will happen if this builds pressure?
Yeah. And his word was like law back then. It's like,
yeah,
some of the information now, you're like, all right, it's like outdated or like not completely correct. But
but his whole story, you know, like in how he dug that fucking shipping container into the side of his hill and God knows where, you know, and like didn't protect it from the like elements at all.
Yeah, I think it's like Rainier, Washington or something.
Was that where he was? No,
I think so. Somewhere up there.
He was definitely like posting some cool pictures for a long time of like, you know, giant reishi and just all sorts of weird, you know, Northwest mushrooms.
Well, I know that I was buying Azure Standard, which, by the way, they are like an hour from me.
Really?
Yeah, they're up in Dufer, which is up in between Hood River and the Dalles. If you go up 44 on our side, or you go take from the Dalles and go down, I think it's like 86 or something, or 85 go down to Bend. It's just in between the two of them.
That's pretty good.
I bought rye berries literally because like that's what he was saying to use. He's like, I use these rye berries, and I was like, all right, if this dude's using it, I'm going to use it.
Yeah, you're right. He was law, dude. And you look at like what he did in terms of shipping container builds, and everybody's like, oh, it's the new thing to use shipping containers. You're like, this motherfucker buried one in the side of his mountain, like. And like he was the first one to do that early shiitake stuff too. I don't remember what strains he was using or anything like that. I'm trying to remember now. I think straw from Aloha was one of the first ones that I remember having a name. And I was like, because there's this dude he's from Italy, and his name's like Fabio something or other on Instagram. And he had all of the original Roger Rabbit strains, and he sent them to me, and I still have them. And he had made trades with him over the years, and he was like, dude, I have to get out of this for a while, but I just want somebody to preserve them. And I'm like, man, this is hilarious. I don't know what these strains are. They were like super dehydrated. I brought some back and stored them, but it's a different time now.
It'd be very interesting to grow them out, because like even back then it was like, I think straw and 75, like, I correct me if I'm wrong, but they're pretty similar. I'm pretty sure it's the same strain, but
it could have been. It might. I don't remember now, because I don't remember where 75 really came from. I do remember like seeing that first article of people cultivating shiitakes on straw, and Aloha reposted it or something. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we got that strain along with a couple other ones from Aloha. And at that time, we just didn't understand the balance between incubation and fruiting, and shiitakes take such a heavy amount of like concentrated cooling and light control and everything when it comes to incubation, that if you don't do it right, you're never going to get equal yields block to block. So we just like couldn't figure it out in the beginning whatsoever. But then as soon as 3782 popped on the market, and that became the strain from Aloha coming from Mycelia, it was like that was it.
Yeah. I mean, I hate that strain, but
everybody does now. But we've come a long way, and a lot of people still remember when like that was the strain, and it was the only one. It was the only one that yielded anything.
Yeah, I mean, I used it for a long time because it's the only one that I could grow well.
Yeah. That was super easy, man. It was very easy.
If I had to pay people to harvest that now, I think they would all kill me.
Especially on a 10-pound block. All right, so what is your setup now that you've gotten away from this crazy fucking straw shenanigans?
We're on all 5-pound blocks now. So we did we did the same thing that everybody did. It's like, all right, we switched from straw, went to blocks. The blocks. God, there's like some police sirens outside. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the Christmas parade
here. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the Christmas parade. Guys, don't miss it. Christmas parade's out there.
Santa!
Santa, is that you? So yeah, we went from straw, 5-pound blocks. I actually was taking the spent grain from the brewery,
nice,
and mixing it with pellets, because it's all we could get at the time.
Yeah.
And then like topping it up with water, mixing it in a freaking trough all by myself. That sucked. Weigh out 200 of them by hand. Steam it in a 55-gallon drum. God, it sucked.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And then we went from that to like 6-pound blocks that we're dry bagging. Then it was like, all right, let's double this, because everybody was on like the big block train at that time.
Yeah.
Did 12s, realized that I'm pretty sure everybody was getting carpal tunnel, like carrying and moving those around.
Yeah.
Went to 10s, and then there's just like a certain point where we were producing enough shiitake blocks, and like the people working at my farm just did not like the 10-pound blocks. Like it was just not a thing for them. So we were doing Yeah, so we went down to 5-pound shiitake blocks, but then needing to keep like two different sizes of bags around or like make special 5-pound blocks for kits.
Right.
It just got to the point where it's like too annoying. So we just standardized to 5-pound blocks. And honestly, like, the way that we have everything set up, we don't have like the cooling and airflow to like really do 10-pound blocks of everything like effectively and well.
Sure.
So 5-pounders work out great. It's annoying to carry around so many more of them, but
yeah.
I don't know. At the same time, like,
they don't.
The one thing that we know,
man, that's huge.
Well, and we get like a standardized size of like mushroom cluster too, which like the 10s, sometimes you get these just like massive whompers where it's just like doesn't fit in the box, or my chefs didn't like it. So
yeah, you
kind of got to and it got to a point where it's like, I'd rather, it's annoying to fill, inoculate, and empty double the bags.
Yeah.
But, it was a lot on our people to move around 10-pound blocks. So
it's also just different when you're doing it in-house. And if your goal is not like ours to sell blocks and sell spawn and grow micro mushroom farms all over the country, you don't have to look at it homogenously like that. And oftentimes you're not making as many as like a block producer, a spawn specific producer. So it doesn't matter, like you're just worried about your production and what you're doing and the outlets for them.
Yeah. And, it's like 10-pounders are great, but when we switched our racking systems, like for our fruiting rooms, when we had to shut down an entire fruiting room at the beginning of lockdown, we just decided to switch our shelves because, we're just top fruiting or whatever. And the shelves are 2 feet deep and it was just annoying and we could never clean well. And so we switched to a different style of shelving, but the way we built it, it couldn't take 10-pound blocks even if we wanted it to. And
you'd have to weld everything into place.
Yeah, it's just, 5 is nice, 5 is easy, and it also makes sense, like with the way that we're doing things.
Yeah,
I like 10-pound blocks, but if we're just buying in blocks, hell yeah, I'd take 10-pounders all day. But the fact that we're like making them, moving them, incubating them, moving them more, it's like,
yeah. Well, I think COVID sort of allowed everybody to slow down for a second and realize, like, if they're going to be in this for the long haul and there's still an industry at the end of the year or 4 or 5 that they can sort of shake out what's most comfortable for their setup.
Yeah, I mean, I like the 10-pound blocks. I mean, it's pretty nice to like get a pretty rockin' yield and just toss it, but you can do the same with a 5. And we just wanted to make sure that, like, no matter who we hire, like, somebody can move, a couple thousand 5-pound blocks pretty easily. But if you're gonna like carry or like whatever a bunch of 10-pound blocks, it starts to get into this weird place of like, not everybody can do that for extended periods of time.
Yeah, you got to hire a particular He-Man. That's true. I think most of my staff is a bunch of like jacked motorcycle crazy people. Not everybody, but at the same time, there's this thing when you just adapt to a thing and you're just like, that's what we do now. And I'm realizing that some of the employees we have never even saw 5-pound blocks, it wasn't a thing, we just have always been doing 10 in their heads. So.
Well, 10 makes sense. I mean, if you're going to be shipping out a bunch of substrate to somebody, like, do you really want to box up double the 5-pound blocks?
No way, dude.
Nope. Yeah, we box up our 5-pounders and sell some of it and store some of it for rainy day funds, and it's a pain in the ass.
So is that sort of fitting into your concept of where you're going to go from here? Like COVID aside, all that aside, do you see like trying to support some other growers in your area by supplying blocks or spawn or what's the future for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we've been selling spawn for, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years.
Cool.
I'm going to say 2. The first year we weren't so good at it. We're like, our stuff is pretty uniform and really good now, but I mean, when we started here, there's like no resources. I mean, what you call fungi perfecti, and they basically tell you to F off, but in a really polite way.
It's like John Donahue or bust.
Yeah, but John Donahue is expensive and you're broke. And
yeah.
I mean, me and John now, like we've got a pretty good rapport.
Good.
But I've also worked with him a bunch.
Yeah.
But when you're nobody trying to buy like a couple 7-pound bags of spawn from them, Kim's not letting you through the door.
No. No, that's true. I have to appreciate like their level of it's like strong armed at the door. They're not even going to respond to your email. They're just like, and I understand entirely. I was impressed that they even wanted to work with us from day one. And there was a time where like John didn't ever charge you for consultations if you were buying spawn and bags from him. But when his bags started getting fucking weird and his spawn just kept getting blown out in the mail, I was just sort of done,
Yeah.
I'd pull him into a conversation or a grant or whatever, using his species and strains. And then it just got to that point where it didn't work. So
totally get it. Yeah,
he's a bags for years. Smart dude. What's that?
We used his bags for years, but yeah, I mean, we had the same thing. One box is one size, another's another.
Yeah, yeah, and like I like him. I almost liked him more. It was the first time that we saw him was at New Hampshire Mushroom Company, and we sort of immediately went to them because they were cheaper, and it made sense for quite a long time. And then Eric would call and be like, "Dude, my bags aren't working. Do you have some?" And we slowly like configured that, or just co-conspired, I guess, to realize that there was like micro holes in those like little gusset areas, and they would cause all sorts of issues, and that's sort of the bummer of it. But I still see people pop in and use them specifically in that area. Like farms will crop up now, and I'm like, oh shit, those are John's bags. I keep forgetting they're a thing now since working with Unicorn and Sacco 2 for quite a while now.
Yeah, I mean, I know we made a shift when we were still on the puff style bags over to tough pack.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right, because tough pack, Jesus.
Great bags did not like how slippery they were.
Yeah.
And God, were they expensive?
Yeah. Yeah, especially to get out your way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know. Yeah, when we started, like. Yeah, I mean, there were no resources. And if you want to talk to any of the old school growers that were out here, like, I mean, you wouldn't even get a call back, no email back, which totally, I mean, I get it now at this point, but.
I mean, is there a level of hostility there still to like new up and coming growers, even like calling you guys or reaching out through similar avenues as you did?
I'm not really sure. Like the old school people are a little bit more closed off, a little bit more like, worried about the slices of the pie, not realizing that the pie has also gotten larger in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, like myself coming from a position of like, there was nobody to call. There's nobody to ask questions to.
Yeah.
There was no like resources as to like, is this the right decision to make? Has anybody else tried this?
Yeah.
I mean, we find ourselves in a position where it's like, you got small people calling all the time. It's like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm happy to help. Like if you need some spawn, like you fuck something up, like, sure. You need some blocks, you fuck something up. Sure. Like you got a question, like I'm happy to help. Cause like, the industry, it's really weird because you've got like two very distinct sides to how people look at it. Like my perspective is like, we're all in this together and we should be working together to make it better and stronger and have people putting out a better, higher quality product together and setting standards for ourselves. And then you've got the other people who look at it like I'm a gunner and I want to like outcompete my competition. And that's just like not really my belief system.
No, man, I'm on the same page as you, which is why, we've perpetually from day one answered all phone calls and given all truthful answers, and just really tried to push the growth of small mushroom farms in general. Like people just don't really grasp the simple fact that the United States eats 1% of the world's mushroom consumption, on a gourmet level. That isn't.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
The growth is enormous. I mean, look at it now. I feel like stupid in terms of even the technological side of getting into different things like fucking, alternatives to Facebook and Instagram. But every day there's a new fucking mushroom farm, or 5 or 10 or even more, that just pop up and you're like, what in the fuck? And some that will just, they automatically know who we are by spawn, by blocks. And I'm like, how the fuck?
Yeah, you're like, where the fuck did you come from?
Yeah, it's not Neil calling me while I'm sitting in my Xterra cold as shit, not looking for a conversation. It's like, it's literal people who just know who we are now. And that is a very strange thing, and people probably know who you guys are and a bunch of other farms that have been around for a hot second now. But this like next wave of micro farms that are exploding are really interesting, because I'm wondering, like, at what level do they stop production? Or do they stop buying in blocks, or do they maintain? Do they want to keep going? Do they want to push forward and forward integrate, into their own block production or spawn production? It's really hard to say, having like that Missouri farm, just like try and sell overnight, is an interesting facet that most of the mushroom world won't see,
or understand, or get the story.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we see that a lot here. I mean, I keep up on who's popping up, like not so much farther south of us, but like just around like the Portland and Vancouver area. And I see people pop up all the time, or like we get people who like want to come tour so they can learn and whatever. And it is kind of weird, because, I had a guy out last Saturday, super small farm out in Tri-Cities, just getting off the ground, putting out some really beautiful mushrooms. And it's kind of funny, because it's like, we have all this equipment now and like, a production schedule and all this stuff. But it's like the stuff he's talking about, I was totally there, and not that long ago, but it was different back then. Like, there weren't places like you guys to call to like get blocks or to buy spawn other than like Aloha and Fungi Perfecti. Like Northsport didn't exist back in the day either. Like half of us didn't know about Amicel or didn't know what the hell to do with a 20-pound bag of spawn.
Yeah, we didn't even know what the fuck. Yeah, you couldn't even buy it. There was a phone number and they would hang up if you said anything that sounded remotely novice,
Oh yeah.
They'd be like, fuck this. I still get a kick out of like when you'd go to order from Lambert and she'd be like, I forget her name there. She'd be like, yellow, blue, or brown. And you were like, what? Which one do you want? Yellow, blue, or brown? And you were like, oh my God, I'm going to hang up now.
Dude, I tried to call them. I wanted some Lambert 123 so badly, like a week or two ago, because I was dealing with some blotch issues. No, okay. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. I called 6 times, and the last time, and this is like 6 times over different days.
Yeah.
Like the last time that I talked to her, she goes, oh, I've got your number. We'll get to you when like we're ready. And I was like, well, fuck that. I guess I'm not buying this now. Oh, you're never calling me back.
No. What was her fucking name? Is it Dawn?
I don't remember, but it's like, I'm just trying to give you money.
Right. They don't care, man. Like, we're a pain in the ass to them to order. It's just like the John Donahue thing, like Kim's not going to sell you one bag. She will if she knows who you are and you explain yourself quickly and efficiently via an email only.
Or say really, really nice things to her when you catch her on the phone.
That's true. I've had some great conversations with Kim, like, and same thing with John. It's not as if those conversations don't go somewhere. It's just the amount of people asking the same questions for as long as they've been in the industry has to be exhausting. And
it's like being at the farmer's market every day.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy. Yeah. I mean, I feel very fortunate to have a crew and an office that sort of really, they sort of like insulate me from the amount of incoming questions and really work hard to answer those things. Tyler can answer anything about spawn and Kelsey can answer anything about blocks, and I don't have to think about the majority of it unless it gets into the infrastructure side or
well, I mean, you also insulate yourself. I tried calling you like 20 times over the summer.
Oh really? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, this was like this last summer was like heartache summer, dude. Dead wife, hit the motorcycle hard and just didn't get off of it for, many, many months and thousands of miles. So
I do not blame you. I just remember I talked to Tyler one time. He's like calling me about an order.
Yeah.
And I was like, does Eric hate me? He's like, no, no, he's even hard for me to get a hold of. And I was like, okay.
Oh, dude, it's a lot. The bigger a company gets and the more people you employ and the more like divisions of things that you really try to like create a self-containment for and a self sort of perpetuation for, the more questions just come at you. And man, I am the luckiest person in the world to have Tyler and Kelsey on my side, because they're the ones who like grabbed me the other day and had a meeting with me, and they were like, we have a list of things that we would like you to okay, so that like, and not okay, but just tell us we can do these things so we don't have to ask you, because it's ridiculous to try and like pull you into things that really don't concern you. And I was like, you guys are lovely. I almost cried. It was crazy.
That's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Dude, it's unreal. I feel so, I'm like a literal #blessed moment in the fucking most stupid way. But it's true. The minute you have employees who have your back like that, they become way more than just like, an employee. You're like, these people are on my side, man. They understand how difficult this industry is. And when you grow as fast as some companies do, it's everything is in turmoil 90% of the time,
Yeah, that's what makes it fun.
It totally does. I love it.
Keeps you coming back and growing gray hair.
Yeah, man. Yeah, are you full of grays now?
No, not yet. But I'll tell you that the last 2 years, it went from like a couple cute ones here and there to like, my God, I look like I aged 10 years.
Yeah, dude. You're like the author that has their 20-year-old picture on the back of their 50th book, and they look like a decrepit skeleton now.
Yeah, go in that direction.
Cormac McCarthy was a handsome man. Yeah, I feel you, dude. I feel you. Well, I think it's cool that you guys are sort of holding down that area, because I definitely like that spot. And there's a lot that sort of has happened in Oregon over the years. And I think the West Coast is huge on mushrooms, but the Northwest is more huge on more on foraging and cultivation. So there's just a handful of you guys up there really killing it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, when we started the first farmers markets that I did, we brought our cultivated stuff down, and people would come up and all they'd ask for is chanterelles, porcini, and lobsters. And like, I'm a pretty good forager, but like, I didn't realize back then how important it was when we got started to have those things. So like, our first couple of years at the market, like, I foraged a ton of chanterelles. I'm talking like, 50 pounds a week just to bring to the market. It's like, where we are, nobody really wanted cultivated mushrooms, but it started with like the restaurants who really wanted it. And what's funny is like, they've all had shiitake out here for so long.
Yeah.
I thought that's what they'd want, but they all wanted oysters, which was the weirdest thing, because I always wanted to grow shiitake because personally I like them better.
Yeah. I really don't like oysters at all. Every time I cook them, I regret it.
Yeah, I don't get it, but all of my chefs love the oysters. I'm like, really? I just think that they're fine.
It proves I'm not a fucking good cook then, because I clearly every time I cook them, I'm like, why did I put these chewy fucking alien fingers in my food? I don't understand.
Well, they do a way better job. It's like anytime I cook mushrooms, I'm like, these are fucking nasty. But when I go out and eat the mushrooms that I sold them, I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, what'd you put in here? Like lard? Because this is great.
Mm-hmm. I leave the cooking to the chefs, my man. I could never figure it out. I've never been much of a cook, but I try to bake stuff, and that's as far as I go.
Yeah, baking's great. I love baking.
Man. It is.
Yeah, man. The cooking thing is always funny. Like doing the farmers market, people are always like, do you have any like recipe recommendations? I'm like, just tell them all the same thing.
Yeah.
For every one of it. Like, they just cook them like a mushroom.
Dude, when I was just cook them like a mushroom. Past the point, you don't know what to say. I remember I think Mark forcibly removed me from a farmer's market when we were in Portland, because he like walked away for a second to like fill some trays, and and restock. And he's like, he's the dude who interacts with people. He might not like it all the time, but he's good at it. And a lady came up and said, "What are these?" And I said, "Broccoli." And she just looked at me like clearly like pissed. And I was like, "Get the fuck out of here." Like under my breath, I was like, "I'm done." And Mark was like, okay, go back to the farm with you." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gone."
Oh, it's because he knew that you knew that she knew that all she was going to do was pick it up, touch it, tell you how beautiful it is, ask you 30 questions and leave.
Exactly. She was the fucking creator of COVID, that bastard.
No, Patient dude. Zero.
Patient
holding
zero.
The broccoli.
Is that broccoli? No, it's not. Oh, God. I've just never been one for like that, like quick sale stuff. I can't do it at all. It's not within my nature to be like kind to everybody. I was at that farm out in Arizona where you got that sand shrooms blog, I'm sure. And
yep.
What's really funny is before I made that blog, the first person I ever contacted about anything to do with like gourmet cultivation was James Shoup. He had
really?
Yeah, dude. He had a blog way back in the day. He's been doing it longer than fucking Joey Schlegel in the whole 9 yards. He might, he's only been like, he's only done the same thing. He never really like expanded too much or contracted to be too small. He's always done the same shit, it seems like, and he's really consistent. So I reached out to him, and he never got back to me. He might have said something like, "Oh yeah, cool," or whatever, and I had like very specific questions, but I was like, what a dick. But then we sort of just went on the Roger Rabbit thing all together, and sort of, built some stuff out there. But we would go to farmers markets, and, this is majorly like just a tomato farm and vegetables and the whole 9 yards for cash crops. And I went to the farmers market with this dude, Lee, who was like a walking Iggy Pop. He was the coolest cat, dude. Same like psychotic movements and stuff. The dude just wanted to smoke weed and get like a tan like nobody's business, look like a grandma's leather fucking bag. And this dude ate steak and eggs every day and nothing else. And he would sell squash like you wouldn't believe. He'd be like, "You slice that bad boy in half. You just slather it down in some all natural butter, salted butter now. And you put just a little bit of honey on it. And then you just slap that motherfucker on the grill." And like all the old ladies would be like, "Oh, oh, oh," and they'd like buy 10 squash. And he was just like, he was good at it.
That's a sexy squash.
Dude, he was so good at it. And he never ate a squash in his life, He just knew how to sell it.
They're gross. We all know they're gross.
It's true. I'll eat some spaghetti squash here and there.
Also gross.
If I'm feeling like gross. I need to be healthy, I don't know. You don't ever.
Yeah, but I get that feeling, and then I try and do it, and
then you get a donut.
Yeah, I feel just regret it. Go down to the corner store, get a corn dog.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
A corner store for a corn dog in fucking Oregon. I like it.
Dude, the corner store down the road. They got the best corn dogs, jalapeno poppers. They got fried gizzards.
Shit, all fresh? Like you can just take it to go, deli style?
Yeah, it's sick. You go in at like 11. You know that it all just came out of the fryer. All the same fryer. It's going to be great.
Yes. They're like, "What allergies?" I don't fucking care.
They don't give a shit. You walk in there and they're like, "What do you want?" You're like, all of it and none of it. Yeah. Want a heart attack?
Please make me ill. I need to go home feeling better or worse.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's a similarity to here for sure. There's just, old school fucking general stores and gas stations. You get pizza for breakfast, pizza for lunch, cookie for dinner, whiskey for dessert.
Yeah, the people who work there too, you smell like the butt end of like an old pack of wet cigarettes. I see you here every day and you look healthy, and I just don't get it. But I'm happy to see you.
It's the fresh air, man. It's the glacial air of Mount Hood.
Yeah. So it keeps us all alive.
It must, dude. It definitely is just a nicer spot in general than, most of the world. So
yeah, but we don't tell people that. We tell everybody that it's shitty and expensive.
Yeah, that's what I tell people about Maine all the time. I'm like, you can't find work. It's a terrible place. People are racist. It's bad. Like, please don't come up here.
Yeah, don't come here. No, don't ruin this for me.
There's a reason why Maine has COVID numbers like Alaska, and it's because of me and telling people to stay away.
Like, stay away, hide your kids, hide your wife.
Yeah. It's outlaws and sadness and farmers up here, man. You don't want none of this.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, thanks for taking the time, man. I appreciate this. I'm glad we finally got it to happen because I really am very technologically challenged.
I think your computer was conspiring against us.
You know, I was like working in the shop most of the night, and I'm just trying to rebuild out shelves. You know, like I was saying, we got this lathe, I got a mill, I got like a bunch of stuff just to do some fabrication and motorcycle work, which I'm getting more and more bogged down and obsessed with. And I realized it was like 10 of, and I'm like, trying to start it up. I had it all set up, and it just didn't want to happen. Sometimes the computer's just like, take a drink, sit down, calm down.
Yeah, it's like you haven't even had a sip of this whiskey yet, man.
Right?
Like, just chill out.
Stop freezing at 30%. You can't argue with a computer. That's the one thing I figured out. So I just usually leave them alone.
Yeah, keep it unplugged. Don't charge it until you need it, and when you need it, just don't charge it anyways.
Yeah, man. Just like, I didn't actually record this conversation. I hope you know that. Oh man, that would be a trip. I hope it records. We'll see.
If not, we'll talk again.
I'm sure we will, man. Well, until next time, dude. It's great catching up and spending some time, and we'll be in touch, I'm sure.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
That was Neil Brent of Columbia Mushroom Company, one of the most laid-back and hilarious humans on the entirety of the West Coast of the United States. Head on over to ColumbiaMushroom.com and check out what Neil and his band of mycological maniacs are up to. Thanks so much for listening to the show this week. You can follow or subscribe to MycoWizards wherever you go for your podcasts. And hey, while you're at it, write to us at P.O. Box 897 in Gardner, Maine, because I sure as shit do love old school snail mail. And if you want to follow us, head on over to the Instagram and find us at MycoWizards Podcast. This episode was produced and sponsored by Maine Cap and Stem Mushroom Company with music composed by Damon Hicks. Head on over to capandstem.com for certified organic substrate and spawn for all your mycological needs. And until next time, lay